Welcome to Marketing with Confidence. I'm your host, Marianne Amies. We're going to be talking all things digital and online marketing for business owners and marketing professionals. If you've been feeling overwhelmed by your digital marketing, be sure to listen along and you'll hear tips, interviews and more that will give you the confidence to create marketing you love. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing with Confidence. I'm joined today by Leslie Carvitto, and we're talking about strategic personal branding shoots. How are you, Leslie?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm really excited. I'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell people how you became passionate about personal branding shoots, especially for women in business.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yes, I'm Leslie. I'm a personal brand and lifestyle photographer for creative and embodied women. I'm an American, and I moved to Australia about 5 years ago now. I live on Wadawurrung land, which is the surf coast in Victoria. And my mission is really just to help women own their gifts and expand their impact in the world. And I do that through photography. I became passionate about personal brand shoots and working with women specifically because back in the States, when I transitioned from my marketing career into freelance work, I wasn't actually doing much photography, but I was assisting all of these really incredible women business owners. So these gals that were kind of one-woman shows. They were creators, they were like meditation teachers, they were yoga instructors, a lot of women in the health and wellness industry. And I was just really inspired by what they were creating and the passion behind their brand. And I essentially was helping them do everything that they didn't want to do, or it wasn't in their zone of genius, or they didn't have time to do it, because we all know that when you're a one woman or one man show, there's a lot to do in a day. And so I'm a little bit of a Jill of all trades, and I can kind of pick things up and move along with them. So I was like creating and maintaining websites. I was writing newsletters. I was creating blog posts. I was writing social media captions because I also have a background in writing. And then I was scheduling things and sending out press releases. So I kind of got a back end view of what it took to run a business, and just knew that running a business can be quite hard. It can be quite isolating. But I was seeing these women again with such a strong desire and a passion and a belief that what they were creating needed to be put out into the world. And I wanted a piece of it. And I eventually got to the place where photography was becoming more and more of my what I wanted to do most and what I was getting hired to do most. And so I was able to let go of those jobs and step full into photography. But I think, again, just, working with those women and seeing what it took to build a business. Part of what I think I do as a personal brand photographer is to help build the confidence to put yourself out there and to be seen for your gifts and your offerings. And again, to really own that and to say, this is my unique thing that I'm bringing to the world. And I get to photograph and capture it and help them, build their confidence to put it out there.
I love that. I imagine, or I guess I have a similar experience of being that. I love the Jill of all trades, and working with so many business owners. And you see that journey that they go through. And I know from myself, how it is isolating, and you are kind of putting yourself out there, but you're not always ready to be out there. So I love that you took all of that and you turned it into something that just supports people and helps to lift others up as well. So a few more questions to get to know you. Coffee or wine?
Coffee always in the morning, champagne at night.
I know. I like to think of him as like the AM and PM friend.
Yeah.
What about reading for pleasure or self-development?
Definitely both. Sometimes I get too deep into the self-development book world, and then all of a sudden I'm just like a bit bogged down by working on myself. And so I need to step out and do some escape reading. So right now I'm currently listening to Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown.
Yes.
On Audible. I just love listening to her voice.
Yes, same.
Fellow American. Just love it. And I just finished this morning reading The Creative Act by Rick Rubin.
Oh, amazing. Fantastic. I actually listened to Atlas of the Heart as an audiobook as well. I don't always
Mm,
listen to audiobooks because I find my mind wanders, but
yeah.
there is something about Brene Brown. It's like, she is the mother. I like her voice.
Yes. I feel the same way about
Yeah.
Audible books too. I'm more like I like to read before bed and I don't
Yeah.
read around tech. And so I love like an actual book that I can sit
Yes.
and sit with. There are a few books that I'm finding I do like to listen to them, but I
Mm.
understand what you mean about the mind starting to wander.
Yeah. I think I especially like to listen to the audiobook if it's from the author
Yes.
rather than someone else narrating it. I,
Yeah.
I think that definitely piques my interest because I'm like, oh, I want to hear it with your intonation and I want to hear it with your intent, not
Agree.
somebody else's take on it.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer to this one, but beach or bush?
Yeah, definitely a water baby. Ocean gal, but I love going out
Yeah.
to the bush and to mountains and to feel grounded because yeah, living on the coast is it's a little bit of a swirly whirlwind here.
It's a beautiful spot though.
It is, yeah.
And then Instagram or LinkedIn, where are you found most often?
Definitely Instagram, although I know LinkedIn is like an untapped potential thing for me. So I do need to step into it, but Instagram for now.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you. So let's talk about brand photography. I guess why, oh, there's so many options and not just in terms of suppliers, but in terms of, the what, the how.
Yeah.
What do you think business owners should consider when they're going to choose a brand photographer?
Yeah, this is a great question because you're right. There's no shortage of talented photographers to choose from, but they won't all align with you, and not all of them have specific experience in brand
Mm.
photography. So I'd say start right there. Find a photographer that actually specializes in brand photography
Yeah.
and knows how to tell your story um, as a business owner and knows how to tell the story of your brand through photos. So after you figured out that they, in fact, do brand photography, start just reviewing like their portfolios, look through their Instagram, look through their portfolio on their website,
Yeah.
and just confirm that you actually like their style. um, and then once you've established that, I really recommend either getting in contact with them via a phone call, or if they like to meet
Mm.
up in person, doing that as well. And I know it sounds really obvious, but I think it's really important because you need to feel comfortable with them. And you need to know that you can trust them to hold space for you in the
Yeah.
process, because for a lot of people, a photo shoot is a really big deal. And it can bring up a lot of anxieties or a lot of
Mm.
insecurities and a lot of worries. And so some photographers, I think, have this like extra empathy and capability to kind of hold people through that. And
Mm.
some might be a little bit more cut and dry with
Yeah.
what they offer and kind of where they'll meet you.
Yeah.
So definitely like get on a call, go for a coffee, do something like that. And also just get to know their process better. So
Yeah.
like ask them what their packages include. How long is the session going to be? How many photos are you getting? Will they help
Mm.
you with location scouting and outfits and things like that? Because yeah, some photographers will be very hands on and
Yeah.
some will be very hands off and
Yeah.
ask you to do most of it. Um, so yeah, do that. And then I would also just say like go with your gut and intuition. I think it's a good practice in um, doing a little bit of research, but then not overthinking it and
Yeah.
just going with the photographer that you feel most connected to.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's such a exercise in vulnerability. So I do think
100%.
you have to feel such a connection. I work with a brand photographer for my business and myself routinely, and she's
Mhm.
now like a great friend. We go out to dinner and because you are just it's a very intimate experience, especially over time. And to try do that with someone that doesn't feel aligned, even if
Yeah.
you love their work, even if you love their output, I think
Mhm.
it's just an extra challenge we don't need.
Yeah, and I think too, some people don't think about if you're not comfortable with the photographer or yeah, like the vibe's not right, that's
Hmm.
going to come through in the photos.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you might not think about that before, but you might get your photos. I've actually had people tell me, "Oh, I've had like," because that's a question I ask is, "Have you had a brand photo shoot before, and how
Yeah.
did you find it?" And a lot of people will say like, "Oh, I went with this photographer, liked their work, but like I got the photos back and it didn't really feel like me, or I looked too posed, or you could tell
Mm.
that I was really kind of uptight and I couldn't relax." And so, yeah, definitely want to vibe with the
Yeah.
person you're working with.
I love that. And I guess, that speaks a lot to the confidence. Obviously the output of the shoot all comes down to how we're feeling, and that's interrelated between ourselves, but also between ourselves and the person we're working with. So
Mhm.
how do we prepare? How do we prepare for the day so that we can turn up confidently?
Yeah. So I would say start by giving yourself enough time to prepare in the first place. So
Mhm.
I advise booking your shoot at least a couple weeks in advance, up to a month in advance.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than waiting too long and then booking because you need something, like you need photos really quickly, but then you
Yeah.
really rushed and you don't have enough time to prepare and get everything together. And then you show up to the shoot and you've brought with you that really rushed, chaotic energy.
Yeah.
So just give yourself time to prepare, book in advance. And I believe it's part of our job as photographers to help our clients prep and feel their best the day of. And so I like to take my clients through like a few steps, which includes a pre-session consultation. So that's where we talk about like the purpose of the shoot essentially. And we start
Yeah.
bouncing ideas off one another and get really collaborative because I believe, and not all photographers do this, but like to me, a photo shoot is a meeting of energies,
Yeah.
and it's a really lovely opportunity to collaborate on artistic ideas and visions and things like that. So we always do a pre-consultation. I have my clients fill out like a branding questionnaire. We
Yeah.
create a mood board. We talk about wardrobe, location, if they want hair and makeup, if they want a stylist. So yeah, there's a fair amount to think about before
Mm.
you actually show up on the day of, which again is why I suggest booking in advance so you have
Yeah.
time to like tick all this off, right? Um, I think it's important to like confirm your outfits and your props and your shot list at least a week in advance and like
Yeah.
kind of have them packed away into the side just so
Mhm.
that they're ready the day of and you don't like wake up the day of the photo shoot and you're like, oh crap, like
I
there's a
haven't
stain
ironed.
on my pants or, you know, like I haven't ironed my shirt, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I also advise clients to remove any, if they can. A lot of my clients are mothers, so there's not, there's only so much they can remove in terms of obligations, but I try
Yeah.
to ask them to remove as many of those as they can, like the day before and the day of,
So
just so that
true.
they can really channel their energy towards the shoot and have time to decompress afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I'll get that a lot where we'll go through a shoot and then a client will be super energized and then they'll get home and I'll check in on them and they're like, oh my gosh, I completely crashed. Like, because it's a lot, right? It's a lot of
Yeah, it
output.
is.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of energy. Um, so yeah, and like as the shoot draws near, I just recommend like engaging in slow practices that feel really nourishing and like
Mm.
regulate your nervous system. And the day before, if you have any like excess energy that you need to get out, go for like a run if you do that, or just like dance or move to kind
Yeah.
of get that out of the way.
I love
Drink
that.
plenty of water, um, avoid alcohol. Super happy to like have a glass of champagne with you post shoot. Um, yeah, unwind and just like get to bed
Yeah.
early-ish if you can, you know, and try and have
Yeah.
like the most restful sleep possible. Again, a lot of my clients are moms
Yeah.
and I get it. It's not always going to happen the way you want it to happen. But that's what editing is for, right? We can remove some of the bags under your eyes should you have them.
You probably will.
And then just the day of the shoot, I recommend getting to your location a little bit early just so you
Yeah.
have time to kind of I recommend just like sitting in your car and just taking a few deep breaths or even
Yeah.
like listening to like a little mini meditation,
Yeah.
something to just kind of calm the mind and the nerves. Um, yeah. And then it's photo shoot time.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea of being really intentional of the prep and the prep
Mm,
leading in. I think it's even interesting for me who does them regularly to realize how little I do because I'm used to helping clients, prepare for shoots or like social media shoots. And I was just thinking as you were speaking, we kind of write out these whole plans for our clients. And when it's our shoot day, we just turn up and we go, what are we doing? You stand there with that person. Now I'll stand over here with a laptop. And it's good reminder of how important that prep is for your confidence and for your outcomes as well.
yeah. I know. Isn't that funny? It's so much easier to do things for clients when you're getting you're in a contract, you're getting paid, and so that kind of gets most of your energy. And then when it comes to
Yeah.
like yourself and your own business, it's like bottom of the list.
100%. Yeah. I always
Yeah.
say I wish I could assign my business as a client, like rename it so I
Mm.
didn't realize it was my business. And I would actually, like, I would never miss, any accountability for a client, but I would certainly shift things around for myself, so
Yeah.
it would be nice.
You know what's cool though is you talked about you use the same photographer every time. And so if you do that, the prep becomes a bit less and less each time, right? Because
Yeah.
you've established the trust with the photographer. They know your brand really well. So there's
Yeah.
not a lot of that prep that happens with a first time brand,
Yeah.
like a photo shoot where you're just getting to know each other.
Yeah.
There's so much more involved
Oh
than
my
if you have
gosh.
someone that you're working with consistently. And you can sometimes you can just kind of show up and be like, cool, yeah, let's roll, because they get it,
Oh,
you get it, and you can move.
exactly. And even, I think one of the best things is that consistency of the same person. Obviously, you get a consistency through your images, and with social media needing so many more images now, your shoots get stale quite quickly.
Mm.
And you do build that bond. If I think of my first shoot versus my fifth or sixth shoot, like I'm just like, right, you want me like this, right? I'm looking there. What are you going to want me to look this way now? Like,
Yeah,
you want me to
yeah,
get my phone because you normally want my phone around now. Like
right.
you are so in sync,
Yeah.
Or I'll get in the pose. She's like, oh, you've got in there leaning on the door, but yeah, I saw the door. I knew this is what you'd
Yeah. It's
want.
like you're reading each other's mind. It's like
Yeah.
you've done this so many times before. It's like you almost don't need to even say anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly, exactly. And I think that comes out in the photos as well, more and more confidence over time.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it is an investment, and I understand, with that investment you want to um you might not be able to do it all the time, but even once a year, because we change as well, like especially as women, we change our
Mhm.
hair, we change our, we put on weight, we lose weight, we change our style all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like those photos, they feel disconnected really quickly.
Yes. And going back to something you said about, oh, what was it? It was genius. I've
Thank
lost it. Mom brain. Well, essentially, I was thinking about when you have been sitting on images. Oh, you were talking about social media images
Mm,
and how they become stale a little bit faster
yeah,
because we're creating so much content all the time. I
yeah,
feel like you can feel almost that staleness, like that social media staleness. You can start to
mm,
feel it in your brand sometimes of
yeah,
just like, kind of it feels like you said disconnected, a bit old, stagnant, doesn't really reflect
yeah.
where you are anymore. And like a photo shoot is such an amazing, I know a lot of people think that they're paying, I mean, and they're paying for the imagery, but they're
Mm.
also paying for the experience of
Oh,
being
absolutely.
expanded. And I
Yeah,
think what photo shoots are great for is you get to step into the version of you that you're like, either you're at it now or
yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah,
something, and you get to be like that little bit bigger, brighter,
yeah.
whatever it is that you want to be. And like I'm sitting on my own, talking about like we don't do things for ourselves, or I'm sitting on super old personal brand photos that I'm like, I have been using these for
Yeah,
years. How
yeah,
have I not updated these? And I
yeah.
can feel like
Yeah.
the stagnant energy. So I just contacted the photographer who did my shoot last time, and I'm like, please tell me you're available because I need something new, stat.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Exactly. And yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think you're so right that that thought of like it can elevate you forward and it can lift your confidence, and I think that's all those things you do in your business. You have a brand and then you grow and you rebrand or you redesign your logo, that next evolution, and it lifts you up. You redo your website, it lifts you up. And it's the same with your photography. I think it's kind of sometimes almost like stepping your confidence by using these devices that project where you want to be, and then you can kind of step into being there.
Yeah, and you're right too about like you mentioned earlier about it being an investment and maybe you can only do it once a year, but
Yeah.
it's like there is something, and I've had clients tell me this, that like there is an energetic shift as soon as they hit the book button. As
Yeah.
soon as they decide
Yeah.
that they're going to do it, and whether that's a photo shoot, whether that's rebranding, whether that's like saying yes to a new backend system that's going to make
Mm.
their lives easier, it's like once you put your money where your mouth is and
Yeah.
you just do the thing, it's you're just like, okay, I just did the thing. I like shifted,
Mm.
I upgraded, had a little like baby brand evolution, and it
Yeah.
it gets easier the more you do it because you see the return.
Yeah, exactly. So that, it's a great way to jump into my last question for you. And it's really about your top tips. And it's the top tips for leveraging those photos and how it can transform your business. We've obviously touched on it a little bit, but I'd love to hear, how you think they get their photos, like what next?
Yeah. Okay. So this is so good. And I've been talking about this more because I've realized in the last few months that I see clients use their photos okay,
Yeah.
but not like to their full capacity. I
Yeah.
think as brands, sometimes we get trapped into these like small tunnel vision thinking of like where
Mm.
things can go and what we can do with what. And so it's like I find that most clients get their photos and they update their website, which is great.
Mm.
They change their profile picture, beautiful. And then they start using them on social media.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of the only place you see them. And I've had a few clients that have just been those stellar, outstanding clients where I see them use photos everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere they can get their face somewhere, there's their brand photos. I'll be walking around downtown, I'll pop into a cafe and I'll see a flyer with their
Mm.
brand photo on it. And I'm like,
I
yes,
love
let's go back
that.
to flyers and like
Yes.
old school marketing and printouts. And so I would just say, and I have a post on this too, if you want to link it. It's just 15 ways to use
Yeah.
your photos.
Oh, amazing.
I want to get people thinking bigger about the way that they can use their imagery because you paid
Hmm.
probably a good amount of money and it's not just to update your website and to share on social, right? So like just a few ways you can use them in your newsletter, use them for PR opportunities. So like when you're submitting to podcasts or magazines or newspapers, use them for events, use them for strategic partnerships.
Hmm.
You can design digital products like Canva is insane what you can do in there. You can create PDFs and pricing guides and ebooks,
Yeah.
use them for lead magnets, brochures, flyers. I would just say, like, yeah, we'll link that, the 15
Yes.
ways you
I'll
can
pop
do
that
it,
in the
but like
show notes. I love that.
expand your thinking in terms of where and how you can use your photos because there's kind of no limit.
Yeah.
Um, think beyond social and think beyond website.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. We were at Business Awards a few weeks ago and they put up on the screen that photo for every single finalist.
Mm.
My photographer came because one of my staff was sick and God bless her, like she came on like 12 hours notice and filled in a chair for us. And
Mm.
her and I literally sat there like, they need a branding shoot. They need a branding shoot. And then a few, she was like, oh, photo. I took,
Yeah.
you
It's so
know,
fun as a photographer to see like the photos that you've created with someone out in the
in
wild.
the wild. Yeah.
And in the wild, it's just so,
You
yeah.
must get a kick, like a total kick, because you're like, I know that person. Hang on, I took that photo.
Yeah. And I also just feel really proud that
Mm.
they're like utilizing their photos, that
Yeah.
they feel really good about the final product and that they're like using it to offer up their services and whatever their unique gifts are, that they're like happy and excited and proud to share it in all
Yeah.
these different marketing ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. I love that. I think I mean, if somebody was sitting on the fence about getting branding photography done, I think after this chat, they'll definitely be running now to get it
I
done.
hope so. I hope so. Yeah.
I think it is something that really transforms businesses. And I do actually think a lot of it is the mind shift that comes along with it, both that financial investment in yourself, but also the confidence to then use that imagery and feel really proud of it as well.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, when you're sitting back and you're like looking at other people or things, like you can kind of just there's a big difference, right? In
Mm.
someone that invests in photography or videography or the visuals of their brand versus someone who's trying to do everything themselves and it's not
Yeah.
their zone of genius. And um that all also comes into like someone feeling trust with you or someone
Yeah.
feeling connected with you. Like the worst thing in the world to me is when I go to a website and there's no images of like their team or them.
I
I'm like,
know.
who are you? How am
Oh,
I
I'm the
supposed to connect
same.
with you?
And I just assume like you're either overseas and this is a shell company or, like, or why? Like when you go to an about and there's nothing about the person that owns the business, I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, you can't build connection. And then so you're just trading off words and yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a different feel.
And it's amazing what one photo can do. Like
Yeah.
one photo of yourself, like
Yeah.
a nice portrait taken by a photographer,
Yeah.
thinking true about lighting, like that could be the difference between someone requesting a discovery call with you
Yeah.
or emailing you about your packages or someone just moving on because they're like, well, I don't know who this person is. I can't
Yeah.
connect with them. And there's hundreds, if not thousands of other options. So yeah.
No, I completely agree. Thank you so much for your time, Leslie, and for sharing so generously. I'm going to link that article for 15 ways to use your brand photos in the show notes. But where else can people connect to you?
Yeah, so my website, which potentially by the time this comes out, will have some updated brand photos, just
Fantastic.
lesliecarvitto.com. And as we mentioned earlier, I'm most active on Instagram, which is lesliecarvitto.photography.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been so lovely chatting.
Yes, thank you so much.
And to everyone else, I'll speak to you again soon. Hey, thanks for listening to another episode. If you don't want to miss one, make sure you subscribe to the show in your podcast app. And if you love it, be sure to share it with friends and colleagues who you think could benefit from increasing their digital marketing confidence. Want more? Head to marianneamies.com to find out how you can work with me directly, to reach out to have me speak at your event, or to grab yourself some free resources.